In previous classes, we have discussed about DDL commands and creating how to create the table and how we are inserting the table in values into the table. So we have learned in previous classes, and also we have discussed about constraints. What is constraint? Constraints are the rules and column. If you have large amount of data, you have a duplication. If you have a duplication in your table, you can use constraints to remove the redundancy in the table. So here we have constraints, not null constraint, and a unique constraint, and foreign key constraint, primary key constraint, check constraint, and default constraint. So in previous classes, we have established for up to foreign key constraint, right? So in previous class, so we have created the foreign key in between two tables. So what is the primary key? Primary key is used to uniquely identify the records in a table. So the table will not allow the duplication of the values. So here we have syntax: create table person. So person ID is the column name, int is the data type, and primary key is the constraint. So whenever you have added the primary key to the column, PID column, it don't accept the null values. If it accept null, if it accept duplication of the values, there is no primary key. So we can drop the primary key by using the alter command, alter table name, drop primary key. So in the previous class, we have created the primary key. So here we have created the primary key. For student table, we have created the primary key, and here another table, certificate table. So how to drop the primary key? What is the syntax? So here we have syntax: alter table name, drop primary key. So let me check. So in new tab, I will take the new tab. So use what is the data type? What is the database? Class database. Use class. You can use the use keyword. And how to drop the primary key? So we have created the primary key for the student table. So here we have a student table. Describe student. Let me check. The table has a primary key. So here the student table, student ID, student name. Here we have primary key. How to drop the primary key? Alter table name. What is the table name? Student. So drop primary key. So it will not drop because the foreign key references to the primary key. We have established the foreign key in the previous class. So here firstly we have to remove the foreign key. Then only we can remove the primary key constraint. So in previous class, we have created the primary key and foreign key. Foreign key references to the primary key. So we have to remove the foreign key first, then only we can remove the foreign key for the table. So here we have cannot drop index primary needed in a foreign key constraint. In previous class, we have established the foreign key for certificate log table. So just remove the foreign key first. Alter table. So foreign key, where is the foreign key? So here we have foreign key in certificate log for student ID column. First you have to remove the foreign key of student ID in the certificate log table. So go through the syntax. What is the syntax? So here we have syntax alter table ordered products. Here we have a table name. This is the table name ordered products. Drop foreign key and constraint name. Alter table name. What is the table name? Certificate log. So here we have we need to define the certificate log name table. Next, what is the drop command? We have to use the drop command. Here I will remove the I am removing the foreign key constraint. Drop, what is the next foreign key? Foreign key constraint. How we can find the foreign key constraint name? So here I'm using the show table. Show create table. Table name. What is the table name? Certificate log. So I am creating this to find out the foreign key constraint name. So here show create table shows what is the what table has so here the create table query is there. Just copy the query. Can you see the notepad? Are you able to see notepad? Just reply please. Are you able to see notepad? So here I am finding the foreign key constraint here. This is the constraint name. Certificate log IBFK _1. So we have created two tables for student and certificate, right? So two foreign keys are created in previous classes. So certificate, this is the constraint name. So how can we find just go to the SQL editor. Here we have a copied data. We have to use this command before going to draw foreign key. Just show create table certificate log. Just it will show the create table. It will show the create table certificate log table. Just to go to copy into the notepad. You will get this code. So here we have constraint foreign key constraint name. So you have to define this name into the query. Here you have to give that name into this query. Just copy the constraint name Next, I want to drop another table. Sorry, I want to drop the primary key for certificate table. So the foreign key references to two tables, one for student table and one for certificate table. So here I am dropping the alter table name. What is the table name? Certificate log. In that we have student certificate ID and student ID. So that's why I am dropping two foreign keys. Drop foreign key. So what is the another constraint name? Certificate log, certificate underscore log underscore ID FK2. So you can change only. Here we have 2. So just execute the query, select the query and execute. Here we have 0 errors. So now the constraint has removed from the certificate log table. So how can we check that? So here student has 2 values. So it will not accept the third value because the foreign key references to the up to 2 values only. So here I am inserting third value. If it will accept that values, so the foreign key has removed from the table. Otherwise, the foreign key references to the 2 tables. So insert into certificate log. What are the columns? What are the columns? ID and certificate ID and received date. Student ID and certificate ID, received date. What is the received date? So here we have received date column. So the names must and should be same. Received date. Values. So I am entering third and fourth value. So if it will accept the values, then the foreign key has removed from the certificate log. Otherwise, the foreign key is present in the certificate log. So just I'm entering the third value and 101. I will give 102. So I will give received date in the format of years, months, date. Here I am giving. Select the query and execute the query. So here we have 0 errors. So how to retrieve the data? Select statement by using the select statement. Select star from certificate log. So just execute the query. So here we have 1, 3. Student ID, certificate ID. Next, so now you have to drop the foreign primary key. So how to drop the primary key? Alter table name. What is the table name? Student. And drop primary key. So now the primary key has deleted from the student table. So before just describe the table. That table has a primary. The table has primary key. Let me check. The table has primary key or not. So here we have no. The table has no primary key because we have dropped the primary key from the student table. So before dropping it, the foreign key refers to the primary key. So in that time, we cannot drop the primary key. So just we have to drop the foreign key first, then only you can drop the primary key. So next, what is the constraint? Check constraint. So why we are using the check constraint? Check constraint is used to check the given value. So whatever you have here, we have syntax create table, persons, ID is the column name, int is the data type, not null means it will not accept the null values. This is the constraint name. So last name means a name is in the form of characters, sequence of characters. So that way I am using the varchar data type, and not null is the constraint, and first name is the character, sequence of characters. So that's why I'm using the varchar data type. So age is in the form of numbers. So I am using the int data type. Here we have constraint name. We are using the constraint name. Then only you have to define the check constraint. So it will check the condition, whatever you have specified in the query. So it will check the condition. So the condition is if the condition is true, it will display the table. Otherwise, it will not display. It will display the only column name. So let me check one example. You will get idea. So what is the syntax? Create table. Create table. So I am giving the name CK check constraint. So I am giving the ID. If you want to give the null constraint, not null constraint, just you have to define that. So ID is the column name, int is the data type. So I'm using the not null constraint. No need to give. If you want to give, just give. Next name, last name, first name, something. I'm giving only name, p name, check constraint name. So name is in the form of characters. So I'm giving the varchar data type and also specifying the length 30. Next, what is that constraint? Constraint. So here we have defined the person age. We have we'll check the condition, right? So that's why we have to give the age. Age is in the form of numbers. We have to give the int data type. Next, constraint name. So if whatever you have, so int constraint name, I will give a person age. If you want to give another name, so you can give that You can give that constraint name. So what is that? Next, we have to define the check constraint. Check age. Age. So I will give greater than or equals to 18. Execute the query. So here we have no errors. The table has no errors, and it's web table. So how can we check? Just insert the tables. If the condition is satisfied at the specified condition, then it will return the result set. Otherwise, it will not return the result set. Insert into. So I'm inserting the values into the CK table. So what is the ID? So here we have to define the column names. C name, check constraint name. So here the age column, values 1, and C name I will give CD. Next, what is that? Age column. So the specified condition is based on these values. So if I'm giving 10, so just check what will happen. If the condition is true, there is return the result set. Otherwise, not. So here the check constraint person age is violated because we have defined we have specified the age 18. So here we have given 10. So it will not match to the numbers. So I'm inserting one more record. What is that? Second record. I'm giving the wrong. Here I'm giving the 19 age. So I'm also changing this record 20. It will accept because the condition is age greater than or equals to 18. Here 20, 19. Just execute the query. So here we have no errors. Retrieve the data. Select star from CK. So here this is the table name. So here we have data, ID, CNAME, age. So the condition, if the condition is satisfied at the specified condition, then it will return the result set. So otherwise, it will the age column will be violated. Next, what is that? So here we have added the check constraint to the column. So then how can we drop the check constraint? What is the syntax? Just go through the syntax. It will the process will be easy. So alter table name, drop check constraint name. Alter table name. Alter table. What is the table name? CK. Drop check constraint. So here the person age constraint name. What is the constraint name? Here you have to give the constraint name. Here I am defining person age. So here you have to give the constraint name. What is the constraint name? Person, age. So here I am dropping the check constraint from the table. And here we have 0 errors. So what is the next? What is the constraint? Default constraint. So why we are using default constraint? If you are not giving any values while creating the table, it will automatically take some values by default value. Whatever you have defined in the query, so it will store that value into the table. So let me default constraint is used to display the default value. So here syntax, create table, table name, id is the column name, and int is the data type. Here I have given the primary key for the column id, and age is the another column, is the data type. So default value, I have set the default to 30. Let me check the example query. So what is the part we have to do? Just create the table. Create table. What is the default constraint? I am creating the default constraint to the column. Create table. I will give the default. So ID, I will give the I will take ID column and int data type. What is the data type? I for ID, int data type. So here you can give the primary key. No need to give, but if you are going to deal with large amount of data, huge amount of data, so to reduce the redundancy, you have to give the primary key in that time. So ID int primary key. So what is the rule for primary key? It will not accept the duplications. Next, I will give a name. Default, I will set the name. So here we have given the age. So I'm giving the name. So I'm giving the name, just varchar data type. What is the syntax? Create table name, ID int primary key, age int. Age is in the form of int, and default I am giving the name something Fratello. So I'm giving the name FratelloInnoTech by default. So let me execute the query. Select the query. Execute the query. Here we have no errors. Describe df1. So here this is the table name. Describe table name. It will display the table. Here the default value FratelloInnoTech. If you have not inserting any values into the name column, so it will directly stores the FratelloInnoTech. While you have added the FratelloInnoTech while creating the df1, so automatically it will store that name into the table. So here the ID name, I'm inserting the values. Insert into table name. What is the table name? df1. So insert into table name. What are the fields? ID and D name. Yeah, no need to give D name because it will stores automatically that FratelloInnoTech into the values. Next, I am giving only ID 1. Execute the query. So let me check what will happen. So here we have no errors. I am inserting the ID values. So ID 1. So describe df1. Sorry, not describe. So we are retrieving the data. So that's why we are using the select statement. Select star from df1. So here you can see the table ID D name. Here I am not inserted any values for D name column. So just I have inserted only ID column and I have given only one record. So here the default value automatically stores into the table when you have created the table. So if you set the default value, it will automatically stores into the table. So let me check another example. So here example 2, create table default timestamp. What is the timestamp? It will display the time and what is the rule? So it will display the current time and date. So let me check it will display or not. Create table. I will give df2 default value 2. So ID I'm giving int primary key. Next syntax create table report. So this is the default I have defined. Just this is the table name. So TS means column name. Timestamp will display the date and time. Timestamp default. What is that? Current timestamp. We are using the functions, date functions, current timestamp. Current timestamp. And close the parenthesis and we have to end the with the semicolon. Save the query. So here we have 0 errors. So here we have 2 columns, ID and TS. So I am inserting only ID column. I am not inserting TS column. I am not inserting value for the TS column. Only I will I will insert the values into only ID column. So the default time it will automatically stores that into the table. So insert into table name. What is the table name? df2. So what is the column name? ID. I am inserting only ID column because I have set default current timestamp. Automatically it will display the time. Values just 1. So I am also inserting another value 2, 3. Just execute the query. So here we have 0 errors, just retrieving data. Select star from DF2. So just the current timestamp should add to all the rows. So here you can see the values. So here I am inserted only ID column. The time automatically it will store automatically, because we have defined default current timestamp date function. So this is the default constraint. So why we are using default constraint? Whenever if you are not giving any values, if you are not inserting any values while inserting the values into the table, so by default it will store the values whatever you have given in the queries. Just it will store that values. Next, what is the query? How to Here the example how to drop the default constraint. Alter table name. Alter here we have defined age column. Drop default. So if you want to set the default value, suppose here display 30. So next I have given the 50 after creating the table. So just you have to set that value. Next, here I am dropping the default constraint. So what is the syntax? Alter table name. What is that? Alter table name. So what is the table name? DF2. So next, alter here we have column name age. So here we have column name TS. Just I will drop the constraint, default constraint. Drop. Next, what is that? Default. Select this query and execute that. Here we have 0 errors. Let me check that the default constraint has. How can we check? Just describe the table. It will display the table. Just select the query and execute the query. So here we have no default values because we have dropped that default constraint. So that way it will not display any default values. Here we have defined the FratelloInnoTech. Here we have set FratelloInnoTech by default. So in the default constraint, we add the table has no values, default values. So you can give other values. So here we have primary key. So these are all about constraint. So in the previous classes, we have discussed about commands and to create the tables and inserting the tables, update the tables, and delete the record the values from the tables, and also we are using the select statement. We have used select command to retrieve the data from the table, and this is the constraint topic. Why we are using constraint? So when you are going to deal with huge amount of data, we have redundant values in the table. So that we have to remove that redundancy. We have to create the constraint at that time. So So in that time, we have to use the constraints, not null and unique, foreign key, and check, default. So we will discuss remaining topics tomorrow. So just go through the syntaxes and practice. Okay, thank you so much. So did you understand everything? Guys, did you understand each and every topic? How constraint into the tables? So, okay, the value from 30 to 50. Yeah, just you have to use the default constraint. So here we have the default constraint. So column just to set the values. So now one more doubt, right? Okay, I'm creating the table. Sorry. Here we have df2, right? So I'm dropping the table df2. Just I will modify that. Okay. Every time you have to refresh your object browser. So here the table df2, this is the table, right? So I'm setting the age. So what is the syntax? Age int. I'm setting the default value. Default value, what is that? 30. So here you can see the just give the query, describe query. So the table has 30, default value 30. So how can you change that? How can you set to 50? So here we have syntax. So alter table name. Here we have the 30 value age. So I want to set that 30 value to 50. So how can we add, how can we update alter table name? What is the table name? df2. Next, what is that? Alter column name. Alter column name. Column name for age. Column name is age. So I'm just setting the value 30 to 50. Alter age, set default value. So I'm giving 80. Just execute the query. The table has updated or not. So describe df2. Describe df2. So the table has updated to 80. So here we have changed the, we have set the 30 to 80. So this time we can change the values, default values. Just to go through the syntaxes. So any doubts?
No,
Guys,
ma'am.
any doubt? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. We will discuss tomorrow remaining topics. Just go through the queries. Practice daily. Okay, thank you so much.